Welcome to the Weaver Sews. I'm Daryl Lancaster. Over the last number of videos, I've taken you step by step through all of the patterns I sell in my e-shop. There's hope that once you buy the pattern and assemble it, I'll be able to virtually hold your hand and video guide you through the process of each step. I have one last pair of patterns to show you how to make, and these have lots of options. The patterns are my 700 tunic and my 1700 tunic. At first glance, they look nearly the same. The difference is the sleeve. The 700 has a set-in sleeve like this tunic, and the 1700 pattern has a drop shoulder like this one. I've covered set-in sleeves in a previous video, but drop shoulder sleeves are installed differently. Set-in sleeves are more typical of a woman's tunic, and drop shoulders are more typical of a man's or gender-neutral tunic. You get to pick. One of the options is an inseam button placket. I covered that in a previous video. And the stand collar is the default on both the 700 and the 1700 tunic. And I covered that in a previous video as well. But this tunic also has a hood variation, which I was encouraged to develop by some of my younger students, one of whom informed me before taking my class that she only wore garments with hoods. The standard placket on this pattern can be a little challenging if you aren't a very experienced garment maker. And the shirt tail hem is a bit tricky in handwoven fabric. And because my daughter is a millennial, she likes all of her hoodies to have a kangaroo pocket. These two patterns have a yoke with a clever design detail, so I'll show you how to do that as well. I've made up a sample of the tunic with some of these options from a striped commercial wool fabric. Let's start with the front panel. I'll be making this tunic from a hand-woven plaid I recently finished, woven from hand-dyed mixed wools and mohairs. I stay-stitched the neck and shoulder edges of the tunic front according to the instructions that come with the pattern. Though I did cover the application of nylon tricot as a seam finish in a video devoted to that topic and how great it is on a curved hem, I thought for this video I'd revisit that and show you the application with a shirt tail hem. I chose the tricot finish for the inside of this garment because this is a tunic that wouldn't be put on and taken off like a jacket. It is unlined. I would have serged the interior seams, but serging isn't particularly helpful in drawing up a curved edge. It can possibly be accomplished with a differential feed setting of the serger, but I'm sticking with the tricot for a cleaner finish. I rather like the weightlessness of the tricot, so I'll show you how I apply it. First, I used 15 denier nylon tricot, which you can purchase in my e-shop in 1-yard packages. There are some basic colors, and the fabric is 54 inches wide. In a previous video, I showed how to cut the tricot into bias strips about 1 1/4 inch or 3.1 centimeters wide. The tricot curls in one direction. The curl will encase the cut edge of your cloth. For the front of the tunic, no matter what version you'll be making, start at the left underarm, front face up, and begin to fold the bias cut tricot strip over the cut edge. You should see about 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter of the tricot on the right side of the seam allowance. There will be more on the back, which you'll trim later. I like to use a straight stitch, but a zigzag stitch ensures you'll catch all of it and is probably better if you don't have experience with this technique. Stitch the tricot down through all layers, gently folding the tricot tight over the cut edge of the cloth. Since this is a spongy, woolly cloth, I have to work extra hard to make sure the tricot comes in contact with the actual cut edge of the cloth. When you come to the shirt tail curve towards the lower edge of the side seam, begin to tug a bit on the tricot as you fold it over. This is a complicated thing to explain and demonstrate, but practice will help. While I'm folding the tricot over the cut edge, I'm tugging on it slightly and forcing the curve of the hand-woven cloth into the folded tricot, making the tricot draw up the curve. Work only a couple of inches at a time. When you reach the end of the curve, where the fabric straightens out across the lower edge, resume just folding the tricot over the cut edge and stitch it down. If you do run out of the tricot and you need to overlap a couple of pieces, make sure that you do that on one of the straight edges, like the lower edge. As you enter the second curve of the shirt tail hem, again, start tugging the tricot as you fold it over the cloth and force the curve into the folded tricot, causing the curve to draw up. Once you finish the second curve, resume folding the tricot over the edge of the remaining side seam and continue to the underarm. If you did it correctly, you should see that the curves of the shirt tail hem curl inward towards the wrong side. This allows a single turn of the cloth to create the hem, where traditional shirt tail hems in shirting require 2 turns, which is really hard to do in hand-woven cloth and not have it come out distorted. Trim away any excess tricot on the wrong side of the garment. Repeat the whole process for the back panel. The hem can now be turned up 5/8 of an inch or 1.5 centimeters and pressed. Take care with the temperature of the iron, since nylon can melt if the setting is too high. I start with a low steam setting and I go from there. A press cloth can help. Top stitch or hand sew the turned up hem once the side seams are sewn. Next time, I'll show you how to make the placket opening in the front neck. I'm Daryl Lancaster for the Weaver Sews.